All right, we live. Wow. Welcome to the midday rides with the lunch crew. The new installment of my podcasting. Today I got Chris Dietz on here. We're gonna talk about week one college football, also a little bit of FCS, a little bit of NFL, and how do you think the college football week was, Dietz, in your opinion?
It started off with a bang, as it always does, but man, everything is just layered, man. It's Alabama and Georgia and everybody else. That's what
Was you expecting that performance by Georgia?
I told you exactly how that game. I told you exactly how that game was going to go. I told you if Georgia starts rolling them, it's going to get out of hand really quick, and it got out of hand. Anybody who expected anything different doesn't know who Bo Nix is, and that it was a Bo Nix kind of game.
Bo Nix looked real terrible.
He was terrible, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's the worst throwing quarterback in college football. He can't throw the ball.
You said the worst?
He's the worst passing quarterback. He's not the worst quarterback because he can run and he can run, but he can't throw. He can't throw. He cannot hit a target. He couldn't hit a target 5 yards down the field. I mean, he's the worst passing quarterback in college football, and it's not even close.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But that's what the weekend. The weekend showed you. It showed you Alabama's still good. The SEC's still dominant.
Mm-hmm.
The Pac-12 is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of headlines that everybody knew going in, and week one kind of just cemented everything. I mean,
what you think about Ohio State and your Bulls?
The Pac-12 is done. The Pac-12 is done this season. You know, they're playing the Rose Bowl, and that's it. The winner of the Pac-12 is not getting in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is.
What you think about your boys, Notre Dame? You think that was a valiant effort? Or you
it was like I said going in. If they keep it under the spread, they kept it under the spread. So it's not. It wasn't a horrible showing. I mean, they had the lead for 3 quarters on Ohio State. But again,
CJ Stroud definitely did good, man.
He did good in the fourth. It took him 3 quarters. It took him 3 quarters to get going. I mean that was it. They showed you a lot. It showed a lot of what Ohio State is, and I mean Notre Dame didn't have an offense that could attack Ohio. If Notre Dame had any kind of offense, then Ohio State would have been in trouble because they were struggling for 3 quarters. They put
also the receivers needed.
They put it together in the fourth quarter, and you saw what Ohio State is. They're Jackson and Jigba, and that's it. That's their whole passing game. Once he went down, they had nothing. So I wasn't that impressed with Ohio. I mean, You talk about Ohio State and what they did. Look at what Michigan did. Michigan looked like looked really good. I watched that entire Michigan game, and I know they weren't playing a top 10 team like Ohio State did, but just the way Michigan looked, Michigan looked like the team to beat. So I was pretty okay with that.
Michigan State cost my ticket, man. That was a close game.
Michigan
that was a closer
State
game than I thought it would be.
Michigan State. That damn half point, man. That damn half point.
Whoo!
They win by 21. The spread's 21 and a half.
Up,
you bet Michigan State to win by 21 and you still lose.
Yes. Man, but what you call looked real good, man. That did you see that young running back they got at Ole Miss? He's only like 18 years old. He ran so hard. I forgot his name.
With Ole Miss.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of kids are graduating early though, man. This is amazing.
Graduating
like a head start. You know what I mean?
Kids are. You gotta play. You gotta play kids. I mean, kids are gonna be playing now because you have to play them, because if you don't, they're gonna leave. I mean, how many times did we see? This guy transferred in from here. This guy transferred from there. This guy played last year at some lesser school. It's like everybody's going to these big time schools, and then they go, oh well, I'm not going to play because they already have somebody. Well, I'm just going to transfer, and the transfer portal is mess. The transfer portal's a mess, and I know it gives power to the kids now, but it's being abused. It's being abused. It's a good thing that's getting out of control. So those are the big takeaways from week 1.
How do you feel about? I feel like Texas A&M took a step back this year, man. They should have scored more than 31 points on Sam Houston.
I
feel like they should have scored more points than that, man.
A&M's another one of those teams. You know, they got a transfer kid at quarterback. They got Brad Johnson's kid at Max Johnson in there at quarterback. So.
Oh my God!
It'll take some time.
Max there?
Yep. Max
Johnson there?
Max Johnson's their quarterback.
Oh man, I didn't like him at LSU.
No,
that's no wonder.
He looked like Brad Johnson. He looked exactly like his father. Just like. Decent, like good, but not good enough. That was Brad Johnson.
How do you feel about the Arkansas overtaking Cincinnati? I thought that was a great game. It was definitely a great game.
You hate to put it on this kid, and you hate to do it to a college kid, but that kicker, man. Mm-hmm. That kicker, right before. I mean, the guy misses the first kick in the first quarter, misses the kick right before the half. That sequence right before the half destroyed everything. He misses the field goal. Arkansas gets the ball, goes down, scores a touchdown right before the half. That sequence. That sequence right there would have given Cincinnati the game, and So you hate to put it on a college kicker, but that's the reality of it. Is you got to make field goal. You got to make the field goals when they're makeable. And there was that. There was Cincinnati. Cincinnati had the ball, first and goal at the 3-yard line, and it ended up being third and goal from the 25 because they got 3 penalties in a row. That right there. Again, if they punch that into the end zone, that's a totally different game. But that's life on the road in the SEC. That's if you want to be a big time team, those are the games you got to win. They didn't win it. Arkansas won the game, but again, when you look at that Arkansas team, does that look like a team that can hang with Alabama? No. And that's going to be the problem. And who's going to get Alabama in the West? That's what's going to be interesting. And then you got
about Lincoln Riley's USC.
Lincoln Riley looked like Lincoln Riley, but they tried to slip it in.
Mm-hmm.
You notice how college football tried to slip it in because they knew everybody was going to be focused on the games, so they tried to slip it in. Oh, by the way, we're going to expand the playoff. They just release it right before the games start. Oh, by the way, we're going to expand the playoff. We don't know when, but we're going to. I guarantee. I can tell you right now.
It makes money sense for them.
If the chaos theory happens this year, I guarantee you they do it right at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about this for a minute. You mentioned A&M. If A&M runs the table,
yeah,
and their only loss is at Alabama, and if Alabama runs the table, goes through the SEC championship, and Georgia's only loss is to Alabama in the SEC championship game, you're going to have a 4-team playoff that's 3 SEC teams. You're going to have to explain how to keep Texas A&M out if their only loss is at Alabama. So if that happens, every other conference is going to be like, well, what are we doing? It's SEC and the Big Ten championship game. It's going to be 3 SEC teams in Michigan, and that's it.
But
so,
man,
it's chaos.
It's definitely, man. You don't think that's what's another surprise for me? UD beating Navy. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
It's not a surprise. I mean, with Navy, it's such a hit or miss. It's such a hit or miss because of the way Navy and Army play football. Everything's hit or miss. Because of the way that these schools run their offense, if their offense clicks, they can have a big day. If their offense isn't clicking, well, if you're running the triple option, that's all you got. It's not like you can go. And once they fall behind, there's no. They don't have the kind of offense that can forge a comeback. So Navy's always a crapshoot. Navy and Army are always a crapshoot. Which, by the way, Army Coastal was probably one of the best games of the weekend.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, man.
That game was insane. That game was insane. Army looked good. Army looked really good, even though they lost. Look, that Coastal Carolina team is scary.
I like that quarterback, the mullet. I like the mullet on that guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It looks like he sells it looks like he could allegedly sell crystal meth, you know what I mean, in a trailer park. But
exactly.
He can sling the ball though. He can sling the ball.
Great mullets. That's what we look for in week 1. Yeah. Great mullets. The Michigan punter. I don't know if you saw Michigan punter. He's got the Raleigh Fingers mustache.
Oh man.
Oh, there was some great hair and facial hair on Saturday. So
did you watch any FCS football over the weekend?
I watched a little bit of Jackson State. State. Doing what they do, and Deion's kid is amazing.
What like if you had to project him, and for the NFL, how high do you think he can go? I'm saying like at least the 4th or 5th.
For the NFL, he'd be a project. He'd be a project going into the NFL. Any of these FCS kids are all these FCS kids are projects.
But we also saw a couple years ago Trey Lance going up so high and Carson Wentz. You know what I mean? So
there's a difference between being North Dakota State and Jackson State. There's a big difference. And the big difference is North Dakota State wins. They go to the playoff, and it's one of the problem. It's one of the problems. The Celebration Bowl is a good idea in theory. When they put 2 HBC schools, they get the big time. They get the big time showing. But I would much rather see Jackson State in the FCS playoffs going against playoff teams rather than going against playing one game and that's it. So the Celebration Bowl is a good concept, but if your team can make the playoff, you should go to the playoffs and not go to some random bowl game.
Well, we all could say North Dakota State hasn't played anybody really. What big time program has North Dakota State played?
They haven't had like no team, no big name team is gonna bring North Dakota State into their building because they know what they're getting. They know they're getting a champion. Just ask Virginia Tech. Just ask Virginia Tech.
God, why you gotta bring that up?
Just ask Virginia Tech, man.
I gotta cover my eyes.
I told y'all about Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech. Oh my God. They find a way to lose to FCS programs. It's an absolute disgrace.
You went back to early 2000s. That school never used to be a joking stock like it is now, man. The whole town was laughing at them. You know what I mean? They're terrible.
No, this happens every few years with Virginia Tech.
That performance was real trashy, man. You lost to Old Dominion. Like you lost to Old Dominion.
Lost to Old Dominion. You brought Grant Wells in. You brought Grant Wells in, thinking, oh, he what he did at Marshall, he can do here, and you can't beat an FCS program. Come on.
Man, I definitely like that Eastern Washington versus Tennessee State game, man. That was a good game. I thought Tennessee State was going to pull it off, man.
Was that game at Eastern Washington?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it was definitely at because the field was all red.
That's the best field in college football. That's the best field in college
It was
football. If you haven't seen it, it's red.
yeah, I seen it.
It's the
It
red
kind of
turf.
gave me the feelings of Boise a little bit.
It's an exact copy of Boise State, which
Mhm.
a lot of people don't like the blue. I love the blue. I love the blue field just because it's something different. But
Mhm.
the red field looks awesome. Like that, Ohio State should do that. If Ohio State did that, they'd have the best stadium in the country.
But a side note, you know what I mean? Your Cowboys picked up Jason Peters. How did you feel about that?
It tells you everything you need to know about. It tells you everything you need to know about Dallas Cowboys because it tells you that the kid they drafted in the first round, they don't believe in him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I took from it.
Excuse me.
What about you?
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it tells. What it should tell everybody is, that this kid's struggling at left tackle because,
That's a hard position to play, though, man.
but also, with losing Tyron Smith, I mean, any Cowboys fan should have expected. Tyron Smith is you can't expect anything out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got a guy there. If this kid doesn't work out, or if somebody else goes down on the line, at least you have a veteran guy who you can slide in there. So, but if the Cowboys have to rely on Jason Peters, then there's more problems than anything else they got going on. So,
But Wise, you was definitely right, man. Jane Madison tore up Middle Tennessee, man. 44-7, man. They tore them up.
dude, I mean, everybody's gonna say, "Oh yeah, they are." Dude, that's an FCS program, just putting a whooping on a D1 program. I mean, yes, James Madison just entered. They just entered, but they don't have recruits yet. They still have all their FCS players,
Mm-hmm.
and they still put a whooping on Middle Tennessee.
That was bad, man.
That was a bad look. That was a bad look. But let's see what happened. I mean, the game of the week. The game of the week though is the game that everybody should be talking about that they're not. They're everybody's kind of brushing off aside was down in the swamp. It just proved that the SEC is that far above. I mean, Florida's not a great team. Florida's a middle of the pack SEC team, and they beat the number 7 team in the country. That's the SEC. The middle of the SEC beat the best that the other conferences have to throw at them. And
I was surprised.
I was trying to tell everybody going into that game. The swamp is a difference. Going into the swamp is it's a different animal. It's a different animal. If that game's in Provo or wherever the hell Utah is, if that game's in Utah, probably a different outcome. But playing in the swamp week 1, playing in the SEC is a different animal than playing in the Pac-12.
Man, do you believe Kristoff can get the U back, man? I watched a little bit of the game because it was an FCS team. Bethman Cookman, they tore him up. But do you feel like he can get there in a couple years back to where they originally were back in the early 2000s, back to dominance? You think they could get back to that level or no? With all that Florida talent,
they can get back. They can get back. They don't need much. Florida, these Florida teams don't need much. Miami has to go back to the Howard Schnellenberger method of keep the Miami kids in Miami. If you recruit, as long as you recruit Miami count the high schoolers in Miami that are just in the city of Miami, if you just recruit those kids, you can get the athletes you need.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much talent in Southern Florida that if you just keep those kids in Southern Florida, if you get those kids, because that's how the U was built. It was built on, all right, we're not going to we're going to keep the Miami kids here, and look at everything that happened. Then they get put on probation. When they get off probation, what did they do? They recruited Miami, brought in all the Miami kids, and you get the 2001 and you get the 2001 team, which people can say anything they want. That's the best team in college football history.
Look at that backfield. Look at that running back backfield.
Their third string running back was Frank Gore, who's probably one of the best running backs of all time. He was their third string running back.
That defense, that shit. Was Jeremy Shockey on that team too?
Shockey was on that team. They had
Winslow was there. Was Winslow there?
I don't think Winslow was there. Winslow might have been a red shirt. He might have been a red shirt that year. I know they had like 70 kids on the team and 53 of them were drafted.
Jesus.
Like you look down that route. Andre Johnson was on that team as a freshman. He was like their number 5 receiver. and he was a top 5 NFL pick, and he was like their 5th guy.
Man,
that's how good that team was. The only thing they didn't have was a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that quarterback was trash.
But Ken Dorsey was a good college. He was a great college quarterback.
Yeah, but
the talent around him was insane.
But how you mean? I know you watch a little bit of FCS. How do you think? I'm really hoping Kamari Everett goes high, man, in the draft. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the FCS and college football, man. You see that he's almost like 6'6", 200 plus pounds, man. Can run.
There's a lot of tight end. There's a lot of tight ends. This is going to be a tight end heavy draft.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of tight ends. You got the kid at Georgia.
Yeah.
You got the kid at Georgia. You got the tight end at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I like him.
There's a lot of big body tight ends that are Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski changed the game. He changed the way we look at tight ends. And a lot of these kids, you're getting a lot of these kids that can play wide receiver and all. But they're 6'6", 260. Like, yeah. There's a lot of them. There's like 4 or 5 tight ends that could go in the first round next year.
There's a lot of people that, you know what I mean, you remember tight ends used to be 6'3", 6'4". Nobody wants no 6'3", 6'4" tight end no more.
Nah, you want that 6'6". I mean, tight ends used to be, all right, this guy can block and then he can sneak out for a pass every now and then. Now you got tight ends that are lining up wide. Mm-hmm. Tight ends that are lining up at wide receiver. Like, how do you cover that? You can't cover that. You can't put a corner on him because you'll just throw him a screen pass and he'll just run the kid over. Mm-hmm. And then if you try to cover him with a safety, the dude will just run right by him. So the tight end has changed the game. And if you can get a really good one, like a Brock Bowers is the real deal.
You definitely.
And then you saw the kid last night, even though LSU lost the game. Mm-hmm. Jason Taylor's kid, he's only 18 years old too. He was only 18, and he was trucking dudes.
It's what I'm saying, man. It's I feel like football is the only sport that the genetics kind of transfers. You know what I mean? In their kids, it's harder with basketball and sometimes baseball, but football sometimes the genetics just relate. It might not be as good as their father, but look at what you call it, Walter Payton's son. He was a decent college running back. You know what I mean? He was a decent college running back. You can go Kevin Winslow, senior and junior. Winslow Jr. was decent.
All those kids. I mean, Barry's kid was good at Stanford.
Yeah.
And thank God he wasn't as good as his father. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Madden football the way it is.
Yeah, because they've been struggling, man. The Madden's definitely been struggling.
Well, that was Barry's kid. Barry's kid went to Stanford and then went on to do his run of Madden. His run of Madden was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's some big shoes to hold, man. Like arguably one of the best running backs of all time. I'm sorry to say, man. I know you're a Cowboy fan, but I kind of put him over Emmett, man. You know what I mean?
It's criteria based. I'm always going to be an Emmett guy. And I know the
lazy.
I know the arguments all the time because I get into them. I get into the bar arguments all the time of, Barry, anybody could run behind that Dallas offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I made this point early on my show. And the only thing you need to look at is 1993. To when you talk best running back of all time, all you have to do is look at 1993. Dallas comes off a Super Bowl victory. Emmitt Smith holds out for the first two games. The Cowboys ran the ball for 93 yards total in those two games. Without Emmitt Smith. They bring back Emmitt Smith, and he starts playing in week 4, and they go 13-1. They go 13-1 the rest of the way. Emmitt Smith misses 3 games and is the NFL MVP that year and MVP of the Super Bowl. And everybody wants to say, "Oh, anybody could have run behind." If anybody could have run behind that line, they wouldn't have needed to resign Emmitt Smith.
But we seen cases of, man, great on lines making an average running back look great. We can go back to 87 with the Redskins. You know, we watched the Redskins, now called the Commanders. Look at Timmy Smith. Timmy Smith had 200 yards. He had 200 yards behind them Hogs. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we can say a great offensive line and a good fullback can propel you to have some crazy numbers, even if it's for a game, seasons. You know what I mean? Because we gotta admit that line, the Cowboy lines was an all-time great offensive line.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. That Cowboys offensive line was awesome. That Cowboys offensive line was great. But that's the problem. That's what everybody will say. Everybody says, "Oh, it was just the offensive line." All you have to do is look at 1993, and without Emmett, they couldn't. Without Emmitt Smith, in 2 games they couldn't run for 100 yards. He comes back. His first game, he had 4 carries for 45 yards. In his first game back. And then from that moment on, 3. So he basically lost 3 games that year. Mm-hmm. Comes back in game 4 and ends up winning the rushing title and being the NFL and scoring the most rushing touchdowns. Like that's what Emmitt Smith was.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at that season and look at the final game of that season at the Giants game that was played. That was a game for the NFC title. It was for not just the NFC East title. That was a game for the number one winner gets the number one overall seed. Emmitt Smith in the first quarter goes down with a dislocated shoulder. Most running backs wouldn't come back. Emmitt Smith stays in the game, runs for 100. I think he ran for 220, and sets him up for the game-winning field goal in overtime. And I mean, you can go back and you can find the clip on YouTube. John Madden said that's the best game he's ever seen. And that's John Madden. Like I believe in John Madden.
How does LSU rebound from that loss on Sunday, man?
As far as rebounding, they're gonna get better. It's Brian Kelly. We saw this at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Okay, Brian Kelly's first year at Notre Dame was not great. Brian Kelly is. I don't know how to say this, but Brian Kelly is he's very hard on his guys. Brian Kelly will use this to his advantage, and that's
he got some tough games coming up. He definitely going to be Southern, but he got New Mexico. New Mexico was at LSU. I think they could beat that. But you also got Auburn. Do you think they could beat Auburn?
They can beat Auburn. I watched Auburn play. They can beat Auburn.
So that's 2 wins right there, maybe. Tennessee, you think LSU could beat Tennessee easily?
But by the time we get to game 5, I mean you got what is baffling about that LSU team is you have an All-American wide receiver. He doesn't catch a pass until 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, you have a kid in Boutte who probably was being talked about as a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Kid doesn't catch a pass till 5 minutes left. Like that's on Brian. People can say it's on the quarterback. That's on Brian Kelly. Like you have a kid who's that good, you get him the ball. You find a way to get him the ball, whether it's him running that short crossing route and just to get the ball in his hand, just to make him feel like, all right, I got the ball. Can't wait till 5 minutes left in the game. But LSU will be better. They'll be better. And like I said, if that extra point doesn't get blocked, they win that game in overtime. They were winning that game. There's no way Florida State was going to hang with them.
My projection, I think they can get like 6 or 7 wins this first year, but I don't like. I think Ole Miss is definitely going to be a tough game. Florida's definitely going to be a tough game. I don't think right now they can beat them 2 teams right there.
They're not going to go. They're not going to go into Alabama and get a win.
No.
So, I mean that they're not bad. They're not at that level, but they are. They're gonna again. This is week 1, and this is why I don't do rankings, because I have to see it again. A lot of these teams that we think are that good, we have to see if they can do it again. Now you mentioned Miami. Miami, yeah, they beat Bethune Cookman. Let's see what they can do next week. Yeah. Let's see if Miami can redo that this week, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see how Miami is going to look, man. But I'm just definitely glad college football is back, man. Oh, damn. Oh, they got Southern Miss. I think. And then after that, they got Texas A&M. That's definitely going to be a measuring stick right there. A&M versus Miami. That's definitely gonna be a Metro State.
Yeah,
With Jimbo.
and we still got a game tonight. You know, I'm interested to see what Clemson does. I'm interested to see how Clemson looks because right now, like I said, right now it's Alabama, Georgia, and everybody else. And Clemson's supposed to be that team that's knocking on the door. I don't know if anybody can hang with those two. I don't know if anybody can hang with those two teams.
I really wasn't expecting a spanking like that, man. I thought maybe Oregon could at least put 17 points up. But I didn't expect a shellacking like that, man. I wasn't expecting.
When I turned that game on and it was 21-0 already in the first quarter, I said, this is going to get ugly. I said, this is going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly fast. And it did.
I had that feeling for Alabama. I didn't think Alabama was going to shut them out. But them two games right there surprised me. It's showing, who the Kings are and who are liable to get that to that national championship, man.
Yeah. Anybody who thinks it's going to be different than Alabama and Georgia, you're going to have to tell me. You're going to have to show me who can stop either of those teams and who can score on either of those teams, because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing teams that can. I'm seeing teams that can score. I don't see teams that can stop them. And those guys can win. They can win any way you put it. Like if you try to slow them down, well, they can hold you. They can hold you to low scoring, and then you can't come in and just out. You can't go up and down the field with them because they'll win in a shootout as well. So both teams are poised to go, and so right now it's Alabama, Georgia, and show me who else is going to get in there.
I don't,
because you really think Ohio State couldn't figure out Notre Dame until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, man. I think
Notre Dame just ran out of gas. Notre Dame just ran out of gas.
Yeah,
Alabama and Georgia, they ain't running out of gas. They're not going to run out of gas. They're going to keep it on. They're going to keep the gas pedal to the floor. So
they're too deep in every position. How could they run out of gas? They're too deep, and people are willing to sit on the bench for them. Kirby and Nick. You know what I mean? The mother team, like you said, the transfer portal doesn't wait for nobody. You know what I mean? So them other schools, they can't hold them 5, 4, 3, 2 stars on their roster. When they tell them no, you ain't gonna be in the starting lineup, or starting, roles at any position. Them kids are leaving, man. So
or it doesn't even matter. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. I mean, just you brought up USC. I mean, Jordan Addison won the Biletnikoff. He was the best wide receiver in the country last year. Nope. Peace out. Kenny Pickett's getting drafted. Peace out. I'm going to USC. Like the best wide receiver in the country went jump ship.
And we even seen it from even the big Division I school kids trying to go down to the FCS and still not making it down there. You know what I mean? Look at Mark Pope from the U. Mm-hmm. He went all the way down to Jackson State. Couldn't even make the rotation. Now he's trying to look for going to transfer portal and trying to find another school. Man, it's tough with them scholarships, man. It's tough, man.
I get it. Like I get it. Kids want to go play, but like this is my problem with the transfer portal. It sucks.
Mm-hmm. But in a way, man, a lot of them should be patient. Especially if you're not making no big noise, man. It's too many leagues to keep on moving, man. You got the XFL, you got the Arena, you got the CFL, you got, you know what I mean, the Europe League, you know what I mean, the German Football League, the Mexican football. It's too many leagues for you to keep on jumping and jumping and jumping, man. You can find your spot if you got some kind of talent, man. You can find your way in some kind of league. It might not be the money you wanted like the NFL, but there's some leagues out here where you don't got to keep on jumping and jumping.
Nah, you got to stick it out, and you got to just like guys that jump ship. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that many guys that jump ship, and all. You're going to see every year. You're going to see guys that. Oh, this guy played at Ohio, and then he goes. The kid at Florida, the defensive end at Florida State, who played at Ohio, or played at Albany. Played at Albany last year, and then comes into Florida State and has 4 sacks last night. You're going to see that a lot, but you're not going to. You're not going to see the kids that go from big school to big school to big school. Like if you're jumping from school to school, there's a reason why. And NFL teams know that. NFL teams find that out real quick. An NFL team wants you to go one place, sit there and build up your status at one school. That's what they want. But who changed that game is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the guy that changed the game. Transferred to LSU, and we the rest is history. But now everybody thinks they can be the next Joe Burrow. Oh, I can go to Ohio. I can go to Ohio State. Oh, I'm not playing. I'm going to go somewhere else, and when it's my turn, I'm gonna be the best. Joe Burrow's 1 in a million, man. That's a 1 in a million case. That's not going to be the example. That's the outlier.
And look, Joe Burrow
thinks he's gonna be that guy.
And he's a great. Joe Burrow was a great college quarterback. I loved him, even for that 1 year. I loved him. I knew he had that it and that dog in him. You know what I mean? He was going to translate. You know what I mean? Even seeing them licks he was taking his first year. Nobody, you can't tell me nobody that second year was thinking he was going to the Super Bowl.
No, even Ohio State didn't believe in him. That's why they brought in Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Like Ohio State knew. Ohio State didn't think enough of Joe Burrow. That's why they brought Justin Fields in.
And man, Justin, man, could you I didn't want him to leave Georgia. Like I remember when he was at Georgia.
He had to leave Georgia after that. After that fake punt, he had to. He would have died. He would have been killed down there.
Yeah, man.
You have to remember how that season went. Fake punt when they were up in the SEC championship game, chance to knock Alabama out. Fake punt, don't get it. Jalen Hurts comes in, boom, boom, boom. Alabama wins. Alabama goes on to win the national championship.
Yeah.
They would have fried him down. They would have hung that loss on him. I bet that's the reason he transferred. I bet they were hanging that loss on him.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I definitely forgot
about that.
The Georgia media down there was hanging that loss on. Oh, look, you couldn't even get the first down here, and it's like, yeah, well, screw you guys, I'm out of here. But I mean that's part of what we were talking about. Like Justin Fields chooses to go to Georgia after. When he was a senior in high school, he watched Jake Fromm as a freshman play in the national championship. Like, you weren't going to start. You weren't going to start your first year down there. You were never going to start. The guy just led his team to a national championship. They weren't going to jump ship. So he never should have gone to Georgia to begin with. Then he hits the portal, and let me see. We're seeing what's left, man. All right. You want to get to the NFL because I got to run. I got to run really soon. I got to get ready for work.
Yeah. Let's go to the NFL, man. Just give me some. How do you feel like the first game going to go with the Rams and the
It's
the
going to be
Bills, Rams and the Bills. I'm sorry, I had a brain
it's going to be
fart.
it's going to be one of two. It's going to be one of two ways. It's either going to be either going to be a shootout. It's either going to be a shootout where these teams are just going back up and down the field, or it's going to be a dogfight.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not going to be one team. It's not going to be one team blows the other out. They're going to mirror each other.
Mm-hmm.
And being the first game, I think we're going to get pretty close to a shootout. I think it's going to be in the 30s. I'm going to say 38-33. And I'm going to say Buffalo just because I think the Rams are beat up.
Let's get one more in, man. How do you feel like the Steelers going to fare against the Bengals at the Bengals home? At Bengals home.
Well, we just talked about with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Is Joe Burrow didn't play all preseason.
Mm-hmm. You think he hurt?
So I know he had I think an appendectomy, which I mean it's not an injury, but you still can't practice, you still can't play after that. And then Pittsburgh coming in, like if I were Cincinnati, and I don't know anything about Joe Burrow. I don't know. I would hold him out. I wouldn't play him against this Pittsburgh defense. In his first game, I'd be like, all right, Joe, we're going to start you week 2. Because I think the Steelers get after him. I think the Steelers win that game. I think they win that game.
I don't know, man. Depending if he doesn't play. If he doesn't play, I definitely got the Steelers. But I hate Mitch Trubisky. You know what I mean? I don't think Mitch Trubisky should start. I'd rather go with Kenny Pickett, but that's another story. But man,
that's why they brought Mitchell Trubisky in. They brought him in to start him. Kenny Pickett's not right. Mike Tomlin's an old school guy. He's not going to go with a rookie in week 1. He's going to let that. He wants Kenny Pickett's going to play eventually, but not week 1, and not with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers don't rebuild. They reload. Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Before we get out of here, man, do you think Trey Lance have a good week 1 against the Bears?
Well, yeah. But not because Trey Lance, because it's against the Bears, and the Bears are awful.
So you got no possibility the Bears can get an upset. You don't got no possibility. There's zero chance.
The Bears aren't pulling an upset. The question's going to be how good does Trey Lance look? And then everything, it's going to be scaled because the Bears are so inept.
You think if he starts stinking up the place, they're going to put Jimmy G in?
I don't think so. I don't think Kyle Shanahan made this move. And I had Niners faithful on my show. And he told me it was Kyle Shanahan's decision. So Kyle's going to stick with him. They're not going to swap quarterbacks. They're not going to be like, all right, if the first 2 drives fall out, they're not going to be like, all right, let's go to Jimmy G to change a pace. Jimmy G is there in case Trey Lance goes down. That's the only way Jimmy G gets on the field.
Exactly.
Is injury.
Well, all right, Deeks, I appreciate you coming on to the Midday Sports with Rod and the Lunch Crew, man. I appreciate you coming on to the new show.
Absolutely, man. And like I said, we got one more game tonight. Then week 1 is in the books. So Thursday night, Fifth on Sports Show. We're shooting for 6. We're shooting for 6 p.m. Thursday night, so we can get it in, get our show in before the NFL games start. We'll be breaking down week 1. We'll be looking forward to week 2, and we'll be picking every NFL game on the schedule. So that's what we got going on this week. Figure it out. And like I said, we'll be doing there's a lot that we saw this weekend. A lot. There's best and worst of the weekend. We'll be kicking that off. So everybody tune in, get over to Fit Down Sports Show, like, subscribe, and you'll get the show 6 o'clock on Thursday.
I appreciate you coming on, Deets, man. You have a good rest of your week, man.
You too, man.